everybody on the internet. Now, this is a spoiler-free review, so if you haven't seen the movie, don't worry, there are going to be no spoilers. You can watch this review. Holy crap. Avengers Endgame is the 22nd installment in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, the 4th Avengers movie, and it is the end of the Infinity Saga. And holy crap. This movie was absolutely beyond phenomenal. Honestly, nothing has ever left me speechless before. This movie, though, left me speechless, literally. I've never reacted to a movie like this before. I've never felt this way after seeing a movie before. It was unreal. I didn't think it was possible to top Infinity War. But the Russo brothers, Joe and Anthony Russo, the directors, I think they are the greatest directors ever, pulled it off. What is most amazing about Endgame is the story and the character. It's so amazing. So amazingly written and so amazingly performed and executed. Of course, this story follows the aftermath of Infinity War. Half the universe died. Evil triumphed over good. The heroes lost. And this story follows all the heroes, all the characters we know and love after that. The toll that it has taken on them. And how the world is after such a massive thing. And this movie is 3 hours long, so there is a lot of room for depth and character building, character development. The amount of depth into the story and the characters, it always feels so impactful and tugs at the heartstrings. There are so many emotional scenes, so many dramatic scenes. All of the characters, they're all in different places. They've come so far, and this is the end of it all. And all these characters heading towards the end is so compelling. And because of that, the pacing also changes a fair bit. Often goes from just a normal pace to a much slower pace. I don't always think that slow pace is a bad thing. Sometimes there is bad slow pacing, but sometimes there's good slow pacing, such as in character building moments. And that is what's in this movie. I didn't think the pacing was bad at all. It was what it needed to be. And tonally, it is always really consistent. Not just with the tone of the movie overall, but with what kind of scene it is, and for the character. And every single cast member in this movie brought their A game. The performances, they've got to be the best performances in the MCU. Iron Man is the one that started it all. He's the character we have been ever since the start of the MCU. And now this is the end of the saga. And it's amazing being with him all this way. Iron Man is my all-time favorite character. And Robert Downey Jr. is just phenomenally perfect in this role. You would always expect Robert Downey Jr.'s Iron Man to be amazing in a movie. He has always been amazing in every movie he's been in. But this one is especially amazing. Every character in the universe is in such a dark place after Infinity War. The place that Iron Man's in is especially compelling. Mainly for me because he's my favorite character. But despite that, he's really feeling lost because he lost Spider-Man. He felt like he lost a son when that happened. And he has been affected by Thanos ever since the first Avengers. Tony is willing to do whatever it takes to win. He thinks he's the best one to save the Earth. And it's really his responsibility, his purpose. The error of his own ways turned him into a superhero. He progressed a lot ever since that point up until where he is now. And Tony has lost hope. That's a place that Tony Stark has never been before. Hopeless. There are scenes where Tony gets so emotional, so dramatic, and Robert Downey Jr. nails it. It feels so real. And Iron Man's suit is awesome. I did like his Infinity War suit a bit more, but this one was cool. I like how it had the classic looking design. Captain America is one of Marvel's biggest heroes. He's one of the biggest heroes in the MCU. And he's been through so much. And now in Endgame, because of what happened in Infinity War, Cap is in an extremely different place. A lot of what makes Captain America the captain has faded, really. Cap does so many things that Cap would not have done before. He has become a lot more willing to do whatever it takes. And Cap has never really been an emotional character before, but here he really is. He has become a very different captain. And other than there just being dramatic moments of Cap's character, there are still very patriotic, hopeful, epic moments from Cap. But he is taken into a very different place. They continue to keep doing different things with Captain America's character. who could come off as a very square character, and they pull it off. And Chris Evans nails it. Everything they do differently, I feel like he can do that better than the patriotic square kind of Captain America. Thor was a massive standout in Infinity War. He had such a compelling story in that movie, and an amazingly epic scene as well. And Thor has been a little bit different in the last few movies he's been in. In Endgame, Thor is just broken. He has lost everything, and he blames the decimation on himself. Thor has a lot of very impactful and dramatic scenes, and Chris Hemsworth nails it. You really feel and hear the emotion in his voice and see it in him. And of course, Thor has a lot of epic and funny moments, and they all equally stand out as much as the dramatic scenes. And this is the final part of the 3-part character arc for Hulk that was started in Ragnarok. And this character arc, it pays off. It really does. Hulk and Bruce Banner have been through a lot these past few movies. But in Endgame, Bruce Banner and Hulk, they both stand out in a very different kind of way. But honestly, this is the least that I've liked Hulk in a while. I think Hulk was at his best in Ragnarok, but here I just didn't like him as much. I'm not saying it's bad at all. I still love Hulk in this. Hawkeye finally returns after we didn't see him in Infinity War, and it was so amazing to see him back. I love Hawkeye so much, and his character and his role was one of the best things about Endgame. Hawkeye is in a dark place. One of the things I loved most about Avengers Age of Ultron was Hawkeye's character development. And again, I got that same feeling in this movie. Hawkeye becoming Ronin is so awesome. Hawkeye and Black Widow also have an amazing character dynamic in this movie. I've always thought their relationship is one of the best things about the MCU, and their relationship is explored in such an emotional way. This is the best that both of them have ever been. Jeremy Renner and Scarlett Johansson have such good chemistry, and their performances are both great. Their relationship really drives you all the way to the end. And Black Widow alone in this movie is great. Like everyone else, she's in more of a dramatic place. She has a lot more memorable moments compared to Infinity War and some previous movies. And I think the toll of Infinity War is a lot more obvious in her than it is some of the other characters in this movie. It is so awesome that Ant-Man is in an Avengers movie. He is there alongside the Avengers. He is an Avenger now. Ant-Man is a great character in the MCU. I've always loved how he's been done. Even Ant-Man is taken to a different place, a very dramatic place. The Ant-Man movies are the lightest movies in the MCU, and Ant-Man, he is a light character, a light comedic character that plays to Paul Rudd's strengths. And they managed to take a light character like Ant-Man to a dramatic place. It's not as dramatic as the other characters, and still, Ant-Man has a lot more levity than drama in this movie. For a character like Ant-Man, who's not normally dramatic, is very compelling. And Paul Rudd shows that he can do it very well. I really like Paul Rudd. We've known Captain Marvel was going to be in this movie ever since she was teased in the post-credits scene of Infinity War, and now she's an Avenger. And Captain Marvel, she didn't have as big of a role as I thought she would. She did do some cool things. She was a good addition to the Avengers. But I liked her so much more in her own movie. And she's not too different after these 20 years that she's been away. But I think that's mainly because we didn't see much of her. War Machine has been around just as long as Iron Man has. He too has been there since the beginning. And Rhodey is such a likable character. I've always liked him. The War Machine suits have always been epically designed. And again, War Machine is an epic suit. But War Machine, he's not really at all in much of a different place. He, of course, is affected by Infinity War. Takes a toll on everyone. I think Rhodey, least of all, got affected by it. It's always great to see him with all these other heroes, but he just wasn't as interesting in this movie compared to them. Rocket is the last surviving Guardian of the Galaxy, and he is a talking raccoon. That is hilarious. Rocket is a very selfish and funny character, and that's what he is in this movie for the most part, but still they find ways to make Rocket emotional. Even some moments that I never thought would come from Rocket's character. He has a lot of awesome moments as well, and how he gets along with all the other Avengers is great to see. Nebula is a character that I have never liked. I'm not saying that the movies would be better without her and that she's a bad character. She's not. I've just never liked her. But I have to say, I actually liked her in this. That was a really big surprise to me. The things that are done with her and the places she goes, it makes her more likable. The fact that she goes through a lot of emotional things and that she's there helping the Avengers, she's with the Avengers, that all made her interesting to me. I'm really glad that this movie turned her around for me. After Infinity War, Thanos instantly became the greatest villain in the MCU. He was a perfectly written villain. And Infinity War was largely his movie. And of course, this movie is an Avengers central story, not a Thanos central story. But Thanos is still in this, and Thanos is still an amazing villain. And Josh Brolin kills it as Thanos. But I like Thanos more in Infinity War, largely because he was the focus of it. And a lot more things were done with his character. The word epic is the best word to describe this movie. Infinity War and Endgame are epics. And Endgame is even bigger and more epic than Infinity War. This movie is god tier epic. The action scenes most of all were god tier epic. The style of the story and the action that the Russo brothers have gone for in something that is of this scope and scale is the closest and best way to translate a comic book. And it's all so much to take in, it's overwhelming. That's what makes it so amazing. And also because of that, Marvel and the Russo brothers always try to subvert expectations and do things differently, do different things, do unique things, at the same time as having an amazing story and so much going on. And just like Infinity War, and I think even more so this time, you're gonna need time to wrap your head around this. A lot of time. And thinking about it a lot, it may change your opinion over time, from good to negative and back again, may even be too much. But don't let your expectations really affect your enjoyment of this. Just know that it's gonna be so much. I think that's the best way to go into this movie. One of the best things about this movie is the execution of its plot. This movie's plot is executed perfectly. It's executed so much better than other Marvel movies, other comic book movies, and other movies in general. And not just movies with a similar plot or a similar scope and scale, just anything else. And it works to tie this massive franchise, the biggest film franchise of all time, together. And not only concludes the story of this saga, but expands upon it. Endgame is also really subtly a tribute to the MCU. All of the characters, all of the memorable things. This movie is aware of the franchise it's in, it's aware of itself and everything. And no surprise, as always, the Russo brothers have an amazing directing style. They also direct the best action in the MCU. And the cinematography, they really know what they're doing. The cinematography is always a big standout, and I think the action in this movie is like I said, god tier epic, but I think it is the best, let alone the best action in film history. Alan Silvestri's Avengers theme is an all-time classic. It will always be known. It's gonna go down in history as a great piece of music. And all of Alan Silvestri's music is great in everything he does, but just like with Infinity War, I didn't think his music here is his best work though. It is still amazing though. Avengers Endgame is beyond phenomenal. It is the perfect conclusion, a very satisfying conclusion to the MCU as we know it, to the Avengers as we know it, to the Infinity Saga. It is the greatest cinematic experience I've ever had. I am going to have to give it a 10 out of 10. Joe and Anthony Russo are literally the greatest directors ever. I think they have created the greatest thing in all of movies. And I just want to quickly mention, if you want to see more of me outside of YouTube, if you want to see more of my thoughts on things that I don't do on YouTube, then follow me on the Stardust app. On the Stardust app, I react to all kinds of movies and TV shows that I watch, and I post on there fairly frequently. You're going to see a lot more of me on there than on YouTube this year. So I'd really appreciate it if you could follow me on there. So, have you seen Avengers Endgame? What did you think of it? Let me know in the comments below. No spoilers in the comments. And if you haven't seen this movie, you need to go and see it. and may the Force be with you.